you remember last week, I showed you a wr200 that I had picked up a while back. I've been riding it about a year, and I fell in love with the power train on that bike. Well, a few weeks ago, I was cruising on the old Craigslist, and I found a bike for sale for only a few $100. And the reason being, this guy here was completely, well, let's just say bottom end shot, top end shot. So I spent a couple weeks shoehorning this wr200 motor into the frame, and this is the result that I ended up with. I'm sorry I didn't do like a full build series where I, showed you each thing I was doing, but it was pretty, trust me, it was a lot of work and a lot of boring work. The YZ was living in North Philadelphia, and oh my goodness, it had spray paint on everything. I used about 2 cans of brake cleaner, just blasting paint off. I wanted a bike that weighed right around 200 pounds, but that was set up as an enduro. The motor, of course, it's as I've said, it's a 200cc wide ratio, 6-speed, 2-stroke. Obviously, it's a low compression bike built for basically tractor factor. This thing feels very similar to a 4-stroke on the bottom end, but then it revs up and really comes alive with some of the mods that have been done. But as far as rideability, you barely have to work the clutch. You can use it, obviously, to ride better, but this thing doesn't stall. I never stall it, and I'm not that good of a rider, so not FMF fatty pipe. Just to continue with that low end power, had to do some rework on the front end of the pipe to line it all up. The old pipe angled, straight up, and this one actually got tilted, and there it is, there she sits. So we're rocking an 18-inch rear wheel, which is actually the wheel from the wr200. It's a DID wheel. It was in great shape, and it went right on. I stole the brake off the 125 and sprocket is off the 200. No problems whatsoever. Right now we're turning a Kenda Trackmaster tire with a tubeless setup, which is phenomenal. It hooks up, running an O-ring chain, geared a little lower here in the rear, works connection pegs. Running the stock shifter right now, it's an ugly turd, so if anybody knows of a better shifter that'll go on a wr200, let me know. I'd be interested. Have to do some research there. Petcock fuel valve is set with a reserve. Stole that off the wr200, went right on. Running a Key-In PWK30 carburetor. Wanted to stay with a small carburetor that would keep the tractor factor going. Mostly switched over to the Key-In because of the clearances. The Mikuni flat slide was really tall on the top, and this kind of nestles in there and doesn't touch anything, so worked out a lot better. Running the stock tank for now. Probably will upgrade that to a bigger tank at some point. Running some blue silicone hoses that are kind of reconfigured slightly to get these aluminum radiators hooked in that position. This bike has a electronic power valve set up. I had to relocate that power valve way up there in this little crevice where the starting coil usually lives. Rocking the applied triple clamps, top clamp, set up to run the oversized bars, which absolutely is a must-have for me. And from there, it's just down the little itty bitty details. The wr200 has a pretty great stator on it, and so I wanted to keep some kind of a headlight just to keep the stator busy. And it's nice to have when you're out riding at night, but I didn't want to add any weight, so I found this pretty cheap headlight setup off eBay, and it works well. It doesn't weigh much of anything. Every single bolt was either missing or stripped out. Actually, so I went down and bought the bike, and it was nighttime, and when I got home the seat had blown off, so because it wasn't bolted on at all. So I ordered a new used seat in off eBay, and when it came in I went to bolt it down, and I discovered why the other seat wasn't bolted in, because the screws were completely stripped. So I drilled and tapped some new ones. So kind of a funny, you never know what you're gonna run into on a bike. Obviously the plastics are all pretty much new. What I was trying to do, and I don't know if you guys will see it, but I was trying to make twinsies. I have over here my pretty much bone stock wr200, and what I was trying to make look like a stock yz125, kind of a sleeper. I just thought it was kind of cool to have bike twins, so they're very similar looking. If you like the bike, follow me. We'll be adding things to make it more trail worthy here. This is basically just the parts between the two bikes, the better part of each of these two bikes put together. I didn't spend any money really buying anything that wasn't just replacing maintenance items or random parts to make the bike work. So next phase is skid plates and radiator guards and hand guards and all that good stuff, and probably a tubeless in the front, different front tire that's more aggressive, maybe a gripper seat. So we'll see as the build goes along. And I actually haven't taken the bike on any like real wild trails yet. I'm sure the suspension is going to need to be revalved and probably resprung. So as of right now, it's just been me beating it around on a little track at work, trying to shake it out and find the problems. And I don't even have very much good footage of that, because basically it had a real nasty hole in the air boot going into the motor. So I'm actually waiting on one to come in. I patched it and it didn't patch very well, so blah 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 blah. Let's move on.